one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2-3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
I can't even think about all of the shit I did to fit in. Past hard to watch like a fucking scary movie. I'm always happy to meet somebody that never knew me. Change for the better, hope niggas are living through me. I put it all on the wax so the people can know the true me. Hard to remain sane when the people you love the most is what's causing the damn pain. Y'all beef by the same thing, we ain't playing the same game. It's all for my family. She the girl of your fucking dreams, but to me she a plain Jane. You dipper and ball man, I dump when them calls came. This that higher level thinking. I'm the type to jump the fuck off of the shit before it's sinking. Not here for no new shit, my game slider boosted. Ain't I don't have to prove shit, Rockstar fight the fool shit. My movie, this the new script. I want a life with no bullshit, nigga. I know on these news clips, that's why I dap him and move quick. Won't be around when they move switch, won't be around when they lose clips, won't be around for they lose lips. Might be the reason they pull shit. Yeah.
Yesterday's price is not today's price, Ravens. What you thought you were going to have to pay him, you're going to have to pay him more.
Week 16 in the books. Welcome to Kicking It with Saint. I am your host, Saint. What is good? Yo, how are we doing? Day after Christmas, bro. Day after Christmas. The vibes are still immaculate, yo. Bro, I think I woke up at like 3 in the afternoon today. It's like the first. Well, I went to bed at like 8 in the morning, so. But I wake up, it's very rare that I go to bed, wake up that late. Now, I done went to bed that late and had to get right back up at 11 or 10, actually. So, that's not healthy. Kids, don't do that. But listen, if you out here chasing dreams, do that. Do what you got to do to get to where you want to get to, all right? Straight up. You're going to be like, oh, fuck this shit right now. But it's going to pay off. I believe in you. But yo, how are we doing today, yo? I'm having a great day. I can't say I'm having a bad day, so I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. You know who else just had a great night? And they'll have a great day tomorrow? The Los Angeles Chargers. They're back in the playoffs. Justin Herbert making his first playoff appearance in his young NFL career. Good for him, man. Good for him and the Chargers. Now, they did just win this game tonight. The Chargers were in Indy to take on the Colts. They win 20-3. Nick Foles was the starter in this game. Nick Foles threw 3 interceptions, got sacked about a million fucking times. This was a god-awful game for the Colts. They really didn't have no shot at winning this game, even though it felt like they could have won this game at any point in time because of how great their defense played and because the Chargers offense, even with the weapons they have and the quarterback they have, they just do not score a lot of points. And the craziest thing about when I watch the Chargers football, their offense is as bad as the Baltimore offense, and they don't even have Lamar. They was as bad as the Baltimore offense even when they got Lamar with no weapons. They as bad as the New York offense is. They as bad as the Washington offense. Like, I don't understand why this offense is this bad, even when the weapons are on the field. Like I said, they throw it a million fucking times a game. For some reason, even though Austin Eckler, if you watch him play, visibly, he is clearly better this year than he was last year. Even though he was good last year, you can see the improvement. Do not consistently hand him the ball to run it. Even though I've been I done said multiple times, I don't think he is a give him the ball, let him run like a running back type of player. Like, his comp is Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, those type of players. But I don't think he run nowhere near as good as those two players. And I understand all the touchdowns he done scored and all that type of shit. But that's based off of the offense he is in and how they use him in said offense. They would never hand him the ball. Or it's very rare they're going to hand him the ball like they hand it to a running back who can run, like a running back. Like, they're not handing him the ball 25 times a game and saying, go get us 100 yards rushing. They're not doing that. They giving him the ball probably 10, 15 times a game, if even that, as far as handoffs, hoping he busts something. And all his other touches is coming from catching. So because you don't have a consistent, dominant run game that can move the chains on a consistent basis, like towards the end of this game, the drive where they finally scored a touchdown, well, when they got the touchdown, it basically sealed it. It was a 12-play drive. 9 of the plays was run plays. Run game wasn't working all night. It finally started working at the end because the Colts defense was just on the field all game, basically, while the offense turned the ball over and did nothing and let Nick Foles get destroyed. That's basically what it was. Now, Nick Foles didn't do his offensive line no help because he was having full Russell Wilson in the pocket moments, stepping back into pressure, stepping into pressure, like it looked like he was trying to escape pressure. It was moments where he could have escaped pressure and joystick died. It just really didn't make too much sense, but it's Nick Foles, so it is what it is. I will say, if Nick Foles was the starter from start to finish this season, the offense probably would look better. But I don't think the Colts, I've been saying this for like 3 years. The Colts don't have legitimate weapons on that offense. Like, you legitimately need a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes right now to come in and save the Colts. That's the type of quarterback you need. A quarterback who can ball out without a number one receiver. That's what you need. And those quarterbacks really don't exist right now because, I only think the only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL that truly make receivers better. Like, they don't need a number one receiver. I'm talking about not no top receivers. They legitimately make make receivers better. I only think Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes do that. I can't think of another quarterback that do that. Not to the level at which Lamar and Pat Mahomes do it. So I don't know the answer for the Colts unless that's a player that's in the draft right now. Because a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, you ain't going to get a player like that want to come play for you. Or you don't want to draft that type of player and not have weapons for him, because then you risk the chance of having this Charger type of run where they rarely make the playoffs even with a great quarterback, and they got weapons. So, I mean, and a Justin Herbert type of quarterback don't come in and win you the games that because, he struggled winning with the Chargers with the talent he got. So I really don't know what the answer for the Colts is right now. Well, I do know what it is, like I said, but a Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes player out there don't exist for you right now. So, and I don't think you get one in the offseason. So I don't really know what the Colts can do, but the Colts defense played a phenomenal game. Like, the Colts defense looked great. They did everything humanly possible to win this game. They just got tired at the end of the game. But they did everything humanly possible to win this game. And the offense was just god-awful. The Colts had an interception in this game on Justin Herbert. It was the only interception he threw. And it was a bad pass that got tipped by one of the defenders. And the dude who picked it off made I know what number he was. I just can't remember his name. I think it was Thomas. Yeah. It was Thomas, because that's who we're number 25. It was Thomas. Matter of fact, it's Thomas the second, bro. I know who it is. It's Thomas the second. I was finna confuse him with number 44, because 44 the dude who tipped it. I remember the play because I wrote it down. I just didn't write their names down because I already knew one of the dudes' names. Either way, Thomas the second, number 24. Number 25. That motherfucker made an unbelievable interception, bro. To grab it when he dived to get this tip interception, the way he brought it in was like how a hands receiver would have brought that ball in. This shit was crazy. I thought I was looking at Devontae Adams on the defense. Like, shit was crazy. So shout out to him. That shit was crazy. But one of the reasons that I think the Chargers won this game, and I think the Chargers is a one-and-done team in the playoffs. I just don't think this is a good team. Like, if the Colts had a competent quarterback tonight, they would have won this game. The Chargers just don't the Chargers is kind of like the Bucks. Neither of these teams, both teams will probably the Chargers definitely making the playoffs. That was solidified tonight. But the Tampa Bay will probably make the playoffs. Neither of them two teams to me is good teams. I think the defense for both teams can play far above, they can make a game very hard for a team. But the offenses for these two teams. And I understand the Chargers is not as bad as Tampa's right now for the simple reason Justin Herbert can move around a little bit. But I mean, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. This is a god-awful team at times. One of the things that was happening tonight to the Chargers, when they try to run play action, because they don't run the ball good and nobody is falling for that shit, when Justin Herbert turn around to get for the play action, it's already a defender in his face. I think if they don't make a commitment, and this is really the problem, because I don't even think that the running thing is here's the thing. They've been dealing with this problem for a long time. Like, I think this has been a problem with them dating back to last year. Like, the offense on this team always seemed to get figured. Like, you know how people talk about Tua and him being figured out? The Chargers offense has been figured out for 2 years. I know people want to blame it on the offensive coordinator and all that, but like I said, I blame it on him too to an extent. However, I actually don't think Joe Lombardi is as bad an offensive coordinator as people think. I think the decision makings this team make at times is god awful, and the fact that it feel like this team's goal is to make Justin Herbert look good, not the Chargers. That is why you stuff all this talent on the team and you still underachieve, because it's not the game plan is not for the Chargers to win. It's for the Chargers to win, but for Justin Herbert to look great. And that's a problem. And that problem has not been figured out yet. And they figured out a way to make the playoffs this year, but I think that's because it's been a down year for certain teams that probably would have had better years. But I'm taking nothing away from the Chargers. I just don't see a Super Bowl team with the Chargers right now, even though they got so much talent. You got Khalil Mack making a Pro Bowl on his third different team. Derwin James got ejected tonight for it. Bro, Derwin James. I fuck with Derwin James heavy, but this hit was crazy. He hit a dude tonight. Like, this mother, you know when people say, I haven't seen a hit like this in a minute, to be completely honest with you. He led with the crown of his helmet. This motherfucker obliterated the dude that he hit. And I would not be surprised if the dude he hit, because the dude he hit did bounce back up, but sometimes that's just adrenaline. I wouldn't be surprised if this motherfucker was like concussed and out for the rest of the season, because the hit that he took from Derwin James, and I'm all for, like, I don't really like the ejection shit if dudes don't need to be ejected. And the ejections be iffy. Nah, I couldn't even complain. And you want to know what's crazy? He was getting walked out damn near immediately. Like, it was no question. And I don't think it's an argument that can be made that he shouldn't have been ejected. Like, that shit was crazy. And what's crazy is he hit this motherfucker so hard, and it happened so quick, that I didn't even realize how hard the hit was at first. I just knew it was a crazy hit. But when they slowed it down, bro, and you saw like how he led with his helmet, and that he drilled him, I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, I don't know how Buddy popped back up so fast, bro. His brain had to be on a fucking roller coaster after that hit. Like, Jesus. And that's the price you pay playing football, bro. So I hope Buddy all right, but goodness gracious. But like I was saying, Derwin James, Pro Bowler. Like, it's a lot of Pro Bowl talent on the Chargers team, but the team is still a team that underachieves. And I do think you can change the offensive coordinator in the offseason, and that'll help, I guess. But here's the thing about the offensive coordinator thing. Really, it's hard to have a quarterback at the level of Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert, and the biggest problem is the offensive coordinator. Because when that's a problem, especially when you got the talent around you that Justin Herbert got, and because when you have that type of talent around you and you have the talent of a Lamar and a Justin Herbert, it just feel like an offensive game plan and the calling should not be the problem. The defense should be the problem. Something within the offense should be the problem. The overall scheme and shit should not be a problem. It should not come into question if you holding the quarterback back. And that's a problem that's for so long has transpired with both quarterbacks. And that's a problem. And if you are the owner of a team, a GM of the team, you should be able to see that and immediately say to yourself, we have to fix this. We have to. Because I already told you, Baltimore done completely wasted Lamar Jackson's rookie contract years by getting him absolutely no legitimate number one type help like all the other teams went out and did for their young star quarterbacks. Mind you, they don't have to take the criticism that Lamar Jackson had to take for the last couple years. The man continued to improve on his game, but they continue to fail him. And he got to take those bullets by people telling him he trash, he can't throw, he holding people back, it's on him. He got players, he the reason they can't. He got to take all that on the chin. And Baltimore get to sit back and people just they such a good franchise. I saw people raving about how they got 10 wins with all the problems they have this year. And I see people raving about how the defense done been so great with Roquan Smith. And I'm like, they definitely didn't watch these games this year. They done started watching them now, but they definitely didn't, because this team Lamar Jackson literally won us so many games early in the season. He backpacked us to the level of which it was impossible for us to miss the playoffs unless Tyler Huntley lost out. Tyler Huntley would have probably had to lose every single game we played the rest of the season since Lamar got hurt for us to not make the playoffs. Lamar won enough games for us to make the playoffs last year, he thought, and Tyler Huntley lost out, basically, and we missed it. If that shit had happened again this year, that would have just been like, come on, bruh. The man literally left and was like, bro, you basically got to get us 2 wins, bro. Really, it was 1. But he couldn't do it. So, like I said before, when it comes to a certain thing, and this might sound off topic, but Joe Burrow and them boys only win the division when Lamar gets hurt. And I'm going to keep saying that till they prove otherwise. But when I look at the two, Lamar and Justin Herbert, it's just, if I'm an owner, I cannot continue to look at my 2 quarterbacks as this talented. Like, I got my criticisms and critiques of Justin Herbert. And like I said, Lamar is not a perfect quarterback. I got my critiques of him also, but this is completely different. I'm talking about how people boast up Justin Herbert. And he literally, his first great accomplishment is that he made the playoffs finally. He got his team to the playoffs. But when you have quarterbacks at that level, I cannot sit around and wonder is this dude holding them back, or why is they limited? Why are they not looking like this or that on a weekly? That's a problem. So I really think the Chargers in the offseason need to make an adjustment to this team. I don't know if it's firing Staley. I don't think Staley really provide anything to the team. That's why I would fire him. I don't think like I said, the offensive coordinator is an interesting one, because I want to see what he can do if you get him a legit. Because here's the thing. I understand the Chargers don't run the ball good, and I think that's a huge problem with this team. But I don't know if it's on the offensive coordinator, because they try to run the ball. They just ain't no team that's good. Like I said, Austin Eckler is not that type of running back. And you got a lot of moments where they just don't want to run the ball. So maybe it is offensive coordinator you got to find something new for. But the thing is, an offensive coordinator, the reason that's a problem for me when that's one of your problems, because the best offensive coordinators are head coaches right now. The one who isn't, people will not hire him for some reason. And Eric Bieniemy. This year should be even more of a reason to hire Eric Bieniemy. Motherfucker don't even have a number 1 receiver over there with Pat Mahomes, and they still got a top offense in the league, and Pat Mahomes probably will win MVP this year, even though I still firmly believe Jalen Hurts should be the one who won that award. But either way, I don't understand how, if you are the Chargers, you don't go into the offseason and say to yourself, bro, I don't want to say we got lucky to make the playoffs, but, bro, it's a lot of realities in which we don't make the playoffs this year the way we played. I understand we had injuries here and there, but the way this offense is played with and without certain players is not good. The way Justin Herbert looks when he don't have his top talent is not good. Mind you, if you don't understand the value of a Keenan Allen, look at him tonight. The big plays that they needed, Keenan Allen was there left and right. And I understand they got 2 quarterbacks, but like I said, I cannot explain to you why the Chargers offense looks as bad as it looks. It feels like every single Chargers game is a close game at this point, because the offense just don't look good. I think the last 2 weeks, Justin Herbert got 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions, no touchdowns. The offense just don't look great. But like I said, they got a very easy schedule the last 3 games of the season. They should win all 3 of them. But like I said before, it's hard to trust a team that just had this type of game. Just like the Bucks. They took probably one of the worst teams, not probably, one of the worst teams in the Cardinals. They had to go to overtime to beat the third string quarterback, Trace McSorley. Shout out to Trace, former Raven. That's ridiculous. These two teams remind me a lot of each other. And not to mention, as much as I like a lot of the different players on the Chargers defense, when I look at the Chargers defense, I don't see like some of these other defenses. So I don't see the Chargers defense being able to slow or stop every great offense they come up against. That's a problem if your offense cannot match the same offensive totals as these other offenses. Like, there's a couple teams in the AFC right now that they got the quarterbacks, but it's just hard to see what they could do in the playoffs, even with said quarterback, because of how bad some of these offenses have looked. And that's one of the problems you have when I'm looking at the Chargers. But I understand Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. I think, I'm not going to say great. He a good quarterback. And I'm happy that he got this team to the playoffs. It's just hard for me to see them doing anything in the playoffs with how bad this offense done look the last couple weeks. And with the Colts side of things, like I said before, this was a shit game as far as the quarterback performance. 3 interceptions, and they was just bad interceptions at that. The turnovers, did they have a fumble in this game? No, that was Justin Herbert who had the fumble. But that's another thing. The Chargers turn the ball over a lot for a team, at times for a team that don't score a lot of points now. So that's another problem the Chargers have to make me not believe in them. But the Colts, the shit performance you got from the quarterback, the defense playing the game that you get the Colts defense playing. Any team that play a defense like this type of game, you usually win this type of game. The score, it was 20-3. It really wasn't even that. That last touchdown legitimately came off of the fact that Colts just had nothing left in the tank because the offense had done nothing for them all game. They gave the offense good field position at times. The offense still didn't do shit with it. This you know, the Colts is I don't want to say it's an unwatchable team because of how great the defense is, but I mean, goddamn, man, this offense is just. This Colts offense is just not an offense that you want to sit around and watch, bro. It's just like, fuck, man. My goodness. But, you know, congratulations to the Chargers on getting back into the playoffs for the first time in 3 or 4 years. Shout out, or at least for the first time in the Justin Herbert era. Moving on, though. Nathaniel Hackett, my guy, fired from the Denver Broncos. But I don't even blame the Broncos. I lose 51-20 something or 51-13, whatever the score was, to a team led by Baker. Oh yeah, somebody losing their fucking job. There's no two ways around it. But in all seriousness, Nathaniel Hackett should have never had this job with Russell Wilson. Nathaniel Hackett was hired because they thought they was going to get Aaron Rodgers. When they didn't, they just had to, they had to go get Russ. Now, where do they go from here? For one, the reason I say you should have fired Nathaniel Hackett because what positive did he bring to this team? I didn't see his influence anywhere. Then you got the dudes doing the shit that they doing on the sideline. So I guess the dude named Dalton Reiser, he pushed the backup quarterback on the sideline for defending Russ because the backup quarterback said, help up Russ when he fall. And the dude pushed him. The offensive lineman pushed him. And I know a lot of people going to, defend. I haven't seen a lot of people on Twitter doing it. But I know it's going to be people who defend the offensive lineman for pushing the backup quarterback because they're going to look at how Russ done played this year. And to those people, I say, bro, don't ever play pro sports. Don't ever play a team sport. If I'm the owner of the Broncos, the GM, Dalton Rentz's ass would have been on the free agency market this morning. He would have been looking for a new job because his ass would have got released when he got his ass to the locker room. Just like I would have released the defensive player. Depending on how great you are, that defensive player Well, his ass would have got released too, who had pushed Russ or who started arguing with Russ. Because, see, what we not going to do is lose and then start fighting on the sideline amongst ourselves. The backup quarterback was right. I don't give a fuck how bad my quarterback playing. Help that motherfucker up. That's your quarterback. Just because we losing don't mean we have to be losers. It's a difference. You can lose games and not lose character. For some reason, this lack of character, this lack of leadership on the and shout out to the dudes who pushed the offensive lineman right back as a reactionary thing, like nah, you don't do shit like this, because that's ridiculous. I seen a lot of teams lose. I seen a lot of players go through losses, and they don't act like that. I don't care how bad Russ playing. For guys to start acting like that, that just tells you they don't give a damn what the coach say. They don't give a damn what players around them feel or think. They done just completely gone AWOL in their head. That is a problem. You cannot have dudes who are that. Like, you always get mad when a receiver on the sideline blowing up about not getting the ball enough. But we got players just allowed to push the backup quarterbacks or a player on the team. Like, nah. And this what's even crazier to me is, when the fuck did it become okay to be pushing a quarterback on the team, period? At what level of football do you play where it is okay to push a quarterback? That just makes no fucking sense. Once a player that made up in his mind that he will push the quarterback on the team, come on, dog. Come on, bro. Like, I don't know if y'all know how this thing go. It's the best player on the team who the highest, basically. So you know you don't touch the best player on the team. Let's say the best player on the team, not a quarterback. Let's say you got a team with the best player, the defensive player, like an Aaron Donald or something. Well, you know not to put your hands on them. Plus, that's the defensive player, so you're not going to put your hands on them anyways. The next thing is the quarterback. I don't give a damn how great of a player he is. My quarterback, you do not put your hands on the quarterback. Once they make that decision, come on, bro, what the fuck I'm going to do with you? So, he lucky. I mean, and who knows what's going to happen to him at the end of the season. But, yeah, his ass would have been off of the team when I got to that locker room for that bullshit. And that's another thing, man. Once you got players doing that type of shit on the sideline, yeah, let's go ahead and get you on up out of here, Nathaniel. Because this shit just ain't about to fly. We not finna be having inner chaos within the team. That can't happen. Like I said, we can lose on games on the field, but we should not be losing character and fighting amongst each other. That can't happen. Once that start to happen, that tells me a couple things. Motherfuckers do not care anymore. And the craziest part is, when you do what Dalton did and put your hands on that type of player, that tell me you don't care about your job no more. You past fuck the team. Usually when dudes get to the fuck the team parties, I'm looking out for myself. This motherfucker said fuck the team and fuck me. Because that's the type of decision you making when you put your hands on a quarterback. But, you know, that's just me. Now, do I think this is the end of Russ? Matter of fact, we'll get to that in a minute. What should they do now? Well, you got to find somebody who is... The first thing you got to ask your next head coach and hire... For one, Russell Wilson, I don't care about how bad the season has been for him. He got to be involved in that coaching hire. Because you just paid this man. You have to bring in a guy that is going... Whose number one agenda is to get Russ back on track. I don't give a fuck if you get him back to that Pro Bowl, all-pro level. But you got to get him back to playing competent football at the quarterback position. Because the Broncos is a good enough team. They got a good enough defense. They got good enough pieces on offense. You have to get Russell Wilson back to playing good enough football to where he is helping the team, or at least not hurting the team. Even if you got to get him into the role of a Brock Purdy, a Jimmy Garoppolo, Alex Smith. If he got to become a game manager the rest of his career, that's something you gonna have. Now, you didn't pay him that much money to be a game manager, so that's something you gotta think about. But you can't have him play this bad again. You cannot have Russell Wilson have another season in which he play like this. Because it's one thing when my quarterback don't do nothing to help me win. It's a whole nother thing when he helping me lose a lot of games. And that's the position you found Russ in this year. Now, I'm not going to write Russell Wilson off. He has been a great quarterback for the entirety of his career. So I'm not going to have one bad year. I'm not going to let one bad year, make me think that all of a sudden Russell Wilson a garbage can. I'm not going to do that to the kid. However, Russ got to come back next year understanding that this was the worst year of my career. This is worse than his rookie year. He got to come back with the understanding that I got to ball the fuck out because my job could be on the line eventually. If they'll fire a head coach in 15 games of his first year, eventually they're going to get to the point where they're going to be willing to eat the bullet on this contract. Once the number is small enough to where they say, yeah, we're willing to eat that. If I'm still playing this type of football, they're going to eventually eat the bullet. And so Russell Wilson going to have to, him and team 3, they're going to have to figure this shit out in the offseason because this cannot happen again next year. But like I said, I'm not going to write off Russell Wilson. Plus, they don't play the Rams next year. So the possibilities of him having another game this bad, very slim, unless they play the Packers next year. Into which case, he'll probably have another crazy-ass bad game. Other than that, you good. Now, do I think Russell Wilson will get back to how he played in Seattle? Not necessarily. He played a lot of backyard football in Seattle. But that was a young Russell Wilson. He ain't young no more. He in his 30s. His body done went through a couple surgeries. Them legs got some mileage on it. Them thighs, them hammies got some mileage on it. Them ankles, injuries, all different type of things. And he just don't seem like a dude who wants to run that much anymore. And I'm not bothered by that. But if that is what you are, if that is what your game has become, then the head coach, who I imagine is going to be an offensive-minded guy, he got to come in with a game plan to be able to get Russell Wilson playing at a top-tier level, even without being able to use his mobility. Because it seems as though now Russ don't really want to be a mobile quarterback anymore. And if Russ don't want to be a mobile quarterback anymore, well, Russ got to be able to operate from the pocket. And right now, like I say all the time, Russ got easily, to me, the worst pocket presence, pocket awareness in football of all the top-tier quarterbacks, or quarterbacks you would think are top-tier quarterbacks. Because coming into this year, Russ was a top-tier quarterback. His pocket presence, his pocket awareness is god-awful. His pocket discipline is god-awful. The next head coach / offensive coordinator for this team have to know how to get something out of Russ when it comes to the pocket play. And I think that's where you got to, maybe you build an offense that's a run-heavy offense. I think a run-heavy offense is where Russ could find his most success. Because I really don't think Russ should be playing in a pass-first offense. You can let Russ cook without putting Russ in a pass-first offense. Like, that's very possible. So I don't think this got to be one of them things where just because you're not letting Russ go crazy with the cook and passing on, 3 out of 4 downs, that you don't still allow him to cook. But Russ have to understand he got to be able to cook within the confines of the system now. Because if anything, what I learned this year, Russ is not a plug-and-play player. Like, you can't just take him out of one situation, put him in another situation, everything on the team is great like Tom Brady did. Or like I think a Pat Mahomes or a Lamar or a Josh Allen would be. I don't necessarily know for the Josh Allen one yet. But, yes, I do. But I don't think Russ is that type of player. So he is clearly a guy who needs a system to be in place. Or he needs some type of system and some type. Like, I really think a strong run game would benefit Russ. I think what Russ is, when he got a great running game behind him, he like Dak Prescott on steroids to an extent. But I don't know if he's still that in this later part of his career. But I just imagine it's hard for me to believe. Like I said, after just 1 year that Russ is just trash now. It's hard for me to personally believe that. So I want to see him at least be bad. I don't want to see him be bad, but he would have to put together this year like he just had. He would have to put together this 2 times in a row for me to believe like, yeah, Russ ain't got it no more. However, with my eyes, I don't think it's that Russ don't got it. I think that I done overrated, and some people might have overrated Russ's ability to work from the pocket. I always knew his pocket presence and awareness was god-awful. But I'm looking at Russ, and Russ just don't look that great from the pocket anyways. And Nathaniel Hackett did nothing to help him out with that issue. And I understand when you have a quarterback that's been great for so long in his career, it's easy to say he'll figure it out. But he didn't. And you didn't help him figure it out. And you did nothing to help him figure it out. And so the next coach got to be able to figure that shit out. Because I don't think Russ is a drop back quarterback. If that's what he wants to be, he got a lot of improvements to make in the offseason. Because I also don't think Russ is a sit in the pocket and read through all of my reads type of player. Like go through read 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm not saying that's something he can't do. It's just not something he do great when he just straight up dropping back. You got to get Russ on the move a little bit, because that's just what it is. That is when he was at his best. I don't want to sound like Russ ain't a good pocket quarterback, but that just ain't where he done found his success at. It just is what it is. The best of Russell Wilson, excluding the defense he had behind him in the running back, was when it was an off-script offense in Seattle. Some people hate to hear that. They might think it's a shot. It just is what it is. I don't look at Russell Wilson and think to myself, from what I've seen from him in the Denver Broncos, this is a dude who should be dropping back every play throwing the ball. It's just not. He don't look fluid doing it. He don't look comfortable doing it. He don't look good doing it. Now, I'm not saying he couldn't get better at it, but he in this year of his career now, like what year is he? What? He this late in his career? Lamar Jackson wasn't great dropping back in the pocket his first year, which was a half. He came in midway through the season. Every year of his career, he's gotten better at dropping back to the point where he is now a drop back quarterback who operates from the pocket and runs when he has to. Russell Wilson has never had to improve from the pocket because of how they ran the offense. Which is what it's funny that I brought that up, because that's what the problem is right now. And that's probably the clear difference that I see between Lamar and Russ. Because Lamar Jackson has so very clearly outgrown his system that it's evident that he is being held back. And he don't even have the weapons that Russ had. Russell Wilson was playing some bad football and had some bad tail-offs at the end of some of his seasons in Seattle towards the back end of his time there. And it was like, who are we blaming? Because we don't want to blame the quarterback that's done been in 2 Super Bowls, regardless of how he got there or what it was in place to help them get there. And we see the weapon. I remember when people started acting like Russ didn't have no weapons in Seattle. But I had never looked at that situation. And while I thought the offense was bad as a whole, I never truly looked at that situation and thought to myself, man, Russ being held back. At least I don't think. Maybe I said it, but I never thought what the Ravens is doing to Lamar, I didn't think that's what was happening in Seattle. Because Russ had weapons in Seattle. It's like I said, he should have. If Russ didn't feel like they was doing him right, and the only thing I thought was the problem was the offensive play calling. They hadn't adjusted to the run. They was a run first offense, and you should have been a pass first offense. I think I'm now understanding why they were not a traditional drop back pass offense. Because Russell Wilson is not a traditional drop back passer. For one, you can talk about the height, but just Seattle had to see this pocket presence awareness shit that I see. Like I would love to talk to somebody from the Seattle Seahawks one day and ask them, like, off record. Because I have to know, is it something, because this ain't something I would want to, air. I wouldn't want to say this on the show because I don't want it to feel like I'm taking a shot at Russ. But I would love to talk to somebody who was with Russ all these years, and I would love to ask him, what do you think about Russell Wilson's pocket presence and awareness? Like, was that, like, what I see from it and what I discuss when I talk about it, is that something that y'all saw? And if it is very clear to me why they don't run a drop back offense with him. And to which case, I got to apologize to Seattle, because it's no fucking way you could let Russ cook if that's the shit that he was doing. It's no way. It's no fucking way, because that is a turnover machine if we let him drop back. And that's what it started turning into, coincidentally. So you know what? I got to apologize to Seattle, because the more and more I talk about this situation, the more and more I'm starting to realize Russell Wilson might be more of a Dak Prescott type of quarterback than we realize. And the simple fact that I think the 2 receivers in Seattle are better than every single one of those receivers in Denver, no shot to the receivers in Denver. I think they are good receivers. I think Seattle got 2 number ones playing at receiver right now. And I done felt that way for the since I done got on the started the show on YouTube. Like, you can check my track record on how I feel about DK and Tyler Lockett, especially Tyler Lockett. But when you have that type of talent, it's very clear to me now they help make Russ better than he and the Doug Baldwins and the Golden Tates. Like, those dudes clearly helped make Russ far better than we realized, which kind of makes sense because Golden Tate went to Detroit and was great. So when I look at Russ now and I'm just going back over all the games I done watched him play, he ain't no drop back quarterback. Maybe it's because of his height and all these other type of things. But when you got a quarterback that's got that type of pocket awareness, presence, and how he operate in front of the pocket and the footwork, all those different types, the running in the sacks. Like, when it's that, I see Russ take sacks where he'll lose about 20 fucking yards on the play because he won't just throw it outside, like throw it away. Nick Foles took some sacks like that tonight where it's like, bruh, what is going on? You've been in the league too long to know you have an opportunity to throw this ball away, and yet and still you choose not to. You choose to eat a sack as if field position does not matter. You're a team that struggles on 3rd and long, but you continue to put yourself in 3rd and long situations because you won't just bite the bullet on certain plays. I don't understand that. Russ done been doing that shit his entire career, basically, once he lost Marshawn Lynch in a dominant run game that could cover that up. I'm at the point where I believe Seattle saw this shit in their practices on a daily basis after Marshawn left, and that's why they ran the type of offense they ran. Because they said, if we let this man drop back 30, 40 times a game, we will not have success. The turnovers will go up, the completion percentage will go down. And that's clearly what's done happened in Denver. And so I'm not sure. Like I said, I want to give Russ another year in Denver to completely know if this is over for him. But, man, after doing all that talk and going through the situation, bro, it just ain't looking good. Nathaniel Hackett will probably be back in Green Bay, if I had to imagine. And last, let's talk about the playoff picture now. So now the quarterbacks and the teams is locked into the AFC playoffs. Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. That's some fucking quarterback power. And the thing that I cannot help but realize when I look at all those great quarterbacks, obviously Pat Mahomes ain't got the number 1 this year, but he always had it. Lamar Jackson continued to get this team to these positions without the weapons that every single one of them other quarterbacks have. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So, in the AFC playoff picture. Oh, also, actually, I meant the NFC. But before I move on from the AFC playoff picture, I want to say something. I'm not 100% sure the Dolphins making the playoffs. I didn't want to talk too much about Tua yesterday. I'm not going to talk too much about him tonight. I got a video coming out talking about the Dolphins and Tua and getting more into the playoff picture and whatnot. I might not think the Dolphins making the playoffs, bro. The way they trending right now, I don't know. Your defense having these type of good games and you're still blowing games. Tua actually lost you a game the other day. I don't know. But then you get to the NFC playoff picture, and it's like I said, you got these bad teams fighting at the bottom. Everybody in the NFC East might make the playoffs at this moment, even though I don't think the Commanders or the Giants going to make the playoffs. Interesting, bro. The Packers might make the playoffs. They now have a chance. I still don't think they'll make it. But here's what's crazy. I think for like the last 3 to 4 weeks I've been saying the Packers ain't making it, yada, yada, yada. Bro, I'm going to have to change my shit again. I said it. I'm not going for the Lions one. I'm done with the Lions, bro. I am done. Fuck the jinx. It's no way that you lose to the fucking Carolina Panthers like that by letting these motherfuckers run for 300 plus fucking yards. It's no way. And at this point, I don't watch that game highlight so many different times. I'm at the point where Carolina just decided not to run for 500 yards on y'all goofy asses. All right, that's where I'm at. And so, and the crazy thing is, Carolina done played some good football over the last couple weeks, bro. These motherfuckers could have beat Baltimore. I'm telling you, Tampa Bay is in trouble because Tampa Bay already done lost to Carolina. It's a good possibility. If they play again, I'm taking Carolina to win that game. I just cannot go against what my eyes have seen. The Tampa Bay offense done look like shit. And now, Brady done started looking like shit the last couple weeks. There's no denying it. And when you have to go to an overtime to beat Trace McSorley and the Cardinals, that's a problem for me. That is a problem for me. Because this ain't Dallas with their backup who everything is in front of them to play for. This is a Cardinals team that knows it has nothing to play for, that knows it's going to be a top draft pick, that knows it sucks, that knows the season is over. Players is probably already planning their trips back home. It is no reason this should have been to 3 overtimes. It went to overtime. Not to mention, they win in these games, like I said, the same way the Chargers win games. Except for they lose more than they winning because they still under 500. It's just, and the craziest part is the team that make the playoffs out of the NFC South will probably finish under 500. Because I don't think none of these teams will win out in order to finish above 500. But I do think Carolina will beat Tampa Bay to make the playoffs next. Because I think if Carolina beats Tampa Bay next week, I think Tampa Bay is officially eliminated from the playoffs. I think that means Carolina is in because they would have swept Tampa Bay on the season. Actually, I don't think that would have. No, Carolina would have to win out to make the playoffs. Because if they finish with if they still finish with more losses and less wins than Tampa would still make it in. But if they finish with the same record as Tampa Bay, they get in because they got both wins. They swept Tampa Bay out in the division this year. So they would finish with the same record, and that means Tampa Bay would miss out on the playoffs. So that's a very real possibility. Now, I don't like banking on Carolina winning 2 games in a row to finish out the season with pressure like this on the line. I really don't trust that. I don't really want to, put my faith in that. But it is what it is. The NFC South's a trash-ass division this year. They traded places with the NFC East. It's really wild to me that Tampa Bay look as bad as they do. And I don't watch Tampa Bay all year, bro. It's other teams I could have watched over. That's what I thought last night when I was watching Tampa Bay. I was like, bro, it's so many other teams I could have gave time to this year. Not a ton, because I watched so many other teams anyways. But it's other teams that I wanted to watch this year that I didn't really get to watch because I was watching Tampa Bay so many different times. And that really bothers me. You know what I'm saying? I don't regret any of the other teams that I spend a lot of time watching. I don't regret watching the Ravens as much as I do. I don't regret watching Cincinnati as much as I do. I don't regret watching the Rams. I even stopped watching the Rams this year at a certain point. Once I knew our season was history with the Rams, I stopped watching the Rams. Now, some people might be like, why he say R? Because I told you, my favorite team in the NFC is the Rams because I love Aaron Donald. But I stopped watching them, and I gave that spot that I usually watch them with to the Cowboys. I watched the Eagles a lot with Jalen Hurts anyways, but I really was watching. I watched almost every Eagles game last year with Jalen Hurts. And I done watched every one this year. So I watch a lot of different teams. And one of the teams that I watched damn near every game of this year was Tampa. And I regret that. I really regret watching Tampa every game. Look, what's a team that I could have watched more of, bro? I could have gave Miami more time early on when they was on that hot streak. I wasn't watching enough Miami Dolphins. I could have watched more Buffalo early on in the season I did watch a lot of Buffalo. It's just other teams I could have spent more time watching than this Tampa Bay bullshit that I've been watching for the last 2-3 months, bro. It's just a fucking shame. Because I know this is a one and done team. I'm done, and I hate that I'm finna do this because I know he gonna make me regret this, bro. I just can't bank on Tom Brady this year, man. He just don't look like the Tom Brady that I know. And so it is what it is. And in the NFC right now, I told y'all, as great as the San Francisco 49ers look, I'm rocking with them Eagles, man. The Eagles have shown me no reason not to bank on them. They've shown me no reason to not to lose the faith in them. The game they had against the Cowboys, mind you, Dak had a great game after that pick six. Wild pick six, but great game afterwards. And I just want to point out once again, and I said it when I did the review of this, once again, Dak Prescott have a great game or a good game, play good enough for them to win. I see people hypercritical of Dak. The defense that's supposed to be great, once again, let an offense go wild on them. So I'm trying to understand where is that same criticism for an offense, for this Cowboys defense. Another thing, Micah, my boy, you owe Jalen Hurts an apology. But maybe he wouldn't even acknowledge it because he like, well, look at what Gardner Minshew did. Y'all do not win that game if Jalen Hurts playing, my boy. Y'all just do not win that game if Jalen Hurts is playing, my boy. I'm sorry. It just ain't happening. But I still got the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. I'm very confident in that decision. I'm not going to change it. I'm just telling you right now. Maybe it's my biasness because I've loved Jalen Hurts. I don't know. I was on the Nick Sirianni train last year also. The Eagles just feel like my pseudo-bait. Really the Eagles replaced the Rams for me this year. Because I watch every Rams game. I didn't watch but like 6 Rams games this year. I don't watch every single Eagles game. I have not missed the Eagles game yet this year. I did not go into the year thinking I was going to watch this much Eagles. I knew I was going to watch a lot once they made all those trades in the offseason. Because I was like, it's no way my boy Jalen Hurts can fail. I think I picked them to win the division this year also. So, obviously, I was going to be picking them a lot this year because I picked them to win the division. But it didn't take me no time to hop onto the train, and I was already on it. But it took me no time to believe the hype because I look at this team. And maybe if I didn't watch this team every single game, I would think what other people think, like, oh, it's no way they really this good and yada, yada. But I watched this Eagles team. And Lane Johnson just had an abdominal tear. He probably won't be playing no more this regular season. But hopefully he'll be back for the postseason. But I just believe the hype, bro. If you watch the Eagles play, this is a great fucking team. The defense is great. The offense is great. The running backs are great. The coach is great. The quarterback is great. The leaders are great. The organization from top to bottom this year is just great. And I just love what I'm seeing from Jalen Hurts and this team. He might play against the Saints, I believe it is, they have next. Even if he don't, I actually think they're going to win that game. Because what I saw from Gardner Minshew against the Cowboys, he definitely can play as good as he played against the Cowboys and beat the Saints. It just is what it is. That I don't even think it'll be a close game against the Saints, to be honest, because the Saints can't score. Like, they just do not score points. The Eagles can run up a fucking tag on you. Like, they done already shown you with Gardner Minshew, they can still drop 30 on your head. Like, do you know how great an offense have to be to still be able to put up that type of production without the starting quarterback who was an MVP candidate, who was a top 2 MVP candidate, should have been leading? That's crazy. And I ain't taking nothing away from Jalen Hurts because I actually believe they lost because they didn't have Jalen Hurts. So, that was playoff talk. But with that being said, bro, I truly, once again, the Chargers won tonight. Oh, you know what? Before we go, let me run through the scores of Week 16 because Week 16 is officially in the books, and the next video will more than likely be. I got a couple video ideas coming out, but I definitely know we're doing a Thursday night breakdown prediction video coming up. But to start off Week 16, the Christmas week, the Jags beat the Jets on Thursday night. Well, actually, I'm tripping. No. That was, yeah. They beat the Jags. The Jags beat the beat the Jets on Thursday Night Football 19-3. The Jags are leading their division now because, boy, them Titans. Hate to be them. The Giants lose in Minnesota to the Vikings 24-27. The Seahawks lose in Kansas City 10-24 to the Chiefs. The Falcons lose in Baltimore 9-17 to the Baltimore Ravens. The Lions head to Carolina to take on the Panthers and let everybody down by losing 23-37. The Bengals head to New England and take on the Patriots. And in a scary-ass situations in that game, boy, they end up pulling it off, winning 22-18. The Saints headed to Cleveland to take on the Browns, and they win 17-10. The Bills headed to Chicago to take on the Buffalo Bills. Went to Chicago to take on the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills headed to Chicago to take on Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, and the Buffalo Bills get the win 35-13. The 1-12-1, boy. And I know they got 2 wins now, so they're not officially they 2-12-1. The Texans headed into Tennessee to take on the struggling, falling Tennessee Titans, and the Texans get the win 19-14. The Commanders, who are 7-1. Yeah. They headed to San Fran to take on the San Francisco 49ers, who still steamrolling motherfuckers. 49ers win that one 37-20. The Philadelphia Eagles, without Swag Hurts, head to Dallas to take on their NFC rivals, and they lose 34-40 in Dallas. Dallas picked up the win right there. Great game from Dak Prescott. The Raiders headed to Pittsburgh in what was just a tough game to watch, but shout out to Cameron Hayward who balled out. The Raiders lose 10-13, and yet another, the Raiders suck, bro. Sunday football, Green Bay headed to Miami in an important game, and they pick up the win. I did not write the scores down for these games, but I know who won them. Denver went to L.A. to take on the Rams, and they got blasted. The Rams pick up that win. Tampa Bay went to Arizona, and of course Tampa Bay gets the win in overtime against a third-string quarterback. And the Chargers on Monday night went to Indy to take on the Colts, and they pick up the win 20-3. That is your scores from Week 16. I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Happy holidays. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. Saint out.
Hey, right out. Got my niggas in the bag blowing white out. We gon' bump this shit real deep into the night out. Keep it 199, just ain't my style. Sing the time, staring out the window of the night route. They never ever understood for the most part. Hey, wonder how them niggas treated Mozart. Hey, did they try to put him on the Zoloft? Oh nah, I was penalized for being too alive. 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 I was